We have a great show today. I wanted to say I hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world. Currently, I'm in the Western Hemisphere. I'm in the state of Louisiana, and the weather's nice. I spent some time in Chicago, and I spent some time in the Midwest, and now I'm back down south. So I just like to say thank you to everyone who's been supporting the channel. On this broadcast, we're going to talk about how supremacy ends, the fight for work-life balance. And I titled it this because I seen some clips that was on two extremes. One extreme is all work, and then the other extreme is anti-work. And I think that we need a balance between the two, and that looks different for everyone, right? Work life balance looks different for everyone. um and I hope that everyone that's seeking that balance is able to find it. So without further ado, I'm going to play a video clip, and I just like to say thank you to everyone that's been supporting the channel, watching the videos, streaming the videos, because that's really important.
You better find somebody that's willing to tolerate the fact that you're never home for the first 10 years. They're going to raise a family by themselves because there's no balance in life. That idea of balance is complete bullshit. I mean, it's just bullshit. You have to work so hard to compete globally these days in every sector. You're going to work your ass off. If you're going to be awake 18 hours and you've determined that there's three things you have to get done, you're going to get those done. No matter what it takes, you're going to get those done. And you're not going to let anything distract you from the 3 to 5 things. If you're a CEO and you achieve that and you can get those done with 80% of your time based on that, you're extraordinarily successful. You are absolutely, and you're Steve Jobs or you're an Elon Musk. You made one of your things today, this interview. You're going to get it done. You're going to, all these people around and everything else, this is one of the 3 to 5 things you're going to get done. I have 5 things today. I'm going to get them done. And I'm not going to let anything get in the way. It's just, I'm going to get them done. That's it. I'll do the same thing tomorrow.
Okay, so I believe that that's one extreme. One extreme in this reality that we're living in is just work. Like some people experience things, whether as children or even as adults, where work becomes the safety net. And so that's one extreme where a person is like they're just going to work themselves to exhaustion. So I'm gonna play the clip again.
You better find somebody that's willing to tolerate the fact that you're never home for the first 10 years. They're going to raise a family by themselves because there's no balance in life. That idea of balance is complete bullshit. I mean, it's just bullshit. You have to work so hard to compete globally these days in every sector. You're going to work your ass off. If you're going to be awake 18 hours and you've determined that there's 3 things you have to get done, you're going to get those done. No matter what it takes, you're going to get those done. And you're not going to let anything distract you from the 3 to 5 things. If you're a CEO and you achieve that and you can get those done with 80% of your time based on that, you're extraordinarily successful. You are absolutely, and you're Steve Jobs or you're an Elon Musk. You made one of your things today, this interview. You're going to get it done. You're going to, all these people around and everything else, this is one of the 3 to 5 things you're going to get done. I have 5 things today. I'm going to get them done. And I'm not going to let anything get in the way.
So I think that that's one extreme. Man, 18-hour days. I don't know if most people even know what an 18-hour day feels like. So the question with that type of mentality is, and I'm not here to police what's right or what's wrong, or if you should live your life like this. I titled this episode "How Supremacy Ends: The Fight for Work-Life Balance." So obviously, work and the key word is balance. Work, balance, life. Right? You're trying to balance the fact that you want a life, and to me, your life is not just what you do to earn money. That's a huge part of it in a capitalist society, but who you are outside of work. Who are you as a person? Right? We want to water that. We want to provide nutrients, and we want to see that part of the individual grow. Right? Who are you when you're with your friends, if you have friends? Who are you with your family, if you have family? Who are you when you're by yourself, right? When you're spending quality time with yourself. All of these things are important. I think the problem with that 18-hour work, CEO, CFO mentality is that it sounds good on paper. It sounds good. And if you value material things, it can provide you with material things. But I fear that type of behavior leads to burnout because it's not normal for humans to work 18 hours a day. It's not normal to function on 5 or 4 hours of sleep. That's just not natural. No matter how much or how many sociologists or people, psychologists in these companies try to promote that to us, it's really not normal. Eventually, either your body is going to break down, your mental health is going to suffer, and your relationships is going to suffer. And he talked about how a person automatically, if they're going to have that type of lifestyle, they have to, the person that they are going to choose as a romantic partner has to be okay with missing 10 years. Come on, man. That's unrealistic from the jump. But this person who's a multimillionaire, that's what they build their life off of. So some people look at that and say, well, hey, I want to be a millionaire. So that's what I'm going to aspire to be. I don't think people actually sit down from a young age and just think about what do you really want. Guys, do you know you could be comfortable in life and not be a millionaire? Do you know you can have total control of your life by just having control of your finances? That's a conversation that we don't talk about. We always talk about two extremes. We live in a world where everything is extreme. And for the sake of I don't want to ramble, I'm going to play the next video. So that's one extreme. Um, Work 18-hour days and neglect everything else. To me, that's unhealthy. And I know that that's unhealthy because at one point in my life, I worked 14, 15-hour days. And it's unsustainable long term. You may can do it for a year, 2 to 3 years, 4 years, but eventually the turmoil of lack of sleep, juicing yourself up on caffeine, neglecting your other aspects of your personality is going to show up. You're going to suffer. And I believe you're going to have some health issues too. Because like I said, it's just we want to align ourselves with nature. We want to be as close to nature as possible. Now, the other extreme is don't work at all, right? That's another extreme. So we're going to get into that in the next video I'm going to play.
Work-life balance, when did everyone get so soft? I would argue that the older generations had an unhealthy work-life balance. You decided to front load 50 years of work to then maybe have 10 years of life. Millennials and Gen Zers were like, no, we would like to enjoy our life along the way and not give up arguably our best 45 or 50 years. We want to have these enriching experiences along the way, and doing a 4-day work week is the quickest way to do that. We can get things done in 32 hours instead of 40, and this is where the world is going. We want the extra day to sit in a hammock and have a fucking iced coffee, spend time with our family, or this is actually more practical of what's really going on. Millennials and Gen Zers are working 2-3 jobs. So though you call us soft, though you call us lazy, we are working harder than the previous generations in longer hours for way less. And anytime this 4-day work week is brought up to boomers who aren't retired, they ask, well, what would I do on that extra day? Or what would I do if I retire? That is a bizarre thing to millennials and Gen. What would you do? You could start a garden, start a podcast, spoil your grandkids, travel. You could do anything that you want, but you all have just dedicated your life to corporations, and that's great if that's what you want to do. But you're not going to push this on us and say that we're soft and lazy because we see a better way.
Okay, so that's basically the two extremes that we're dealing with. We're dealing with one extreme where one side is saying work, work, work. The other side is saying I don't want to work, work, work. I want to have some form of balance. Now, it'll be nice because I live in a world where I grew up with siblings, so I'm used to making compromises. I'm not a person that is like, it's my way or the highway, because I'm the youngest of four. So I grew up being the youngest, having to make compromises. So, and I can understand how that has affected my personality. I think we live in a world that's so all or nothing right now, and it's not working out for the populace because it sounds nice to be all or nothing. But how often do we see people end up with all, and how often do we see people end up with nothing? Most people are somewhere in the middle where you're not going to get everything you want, but you're going to get something, right? You're going to get some things that you want. So if that's the reality of most people, we should create a work life culture where it's somewhere in the middle. Where yeah, we're productive, but we're not pushing ourselves to exhaustion. Yes, we work and we're productive while we're at work, but should we be working ourselves to exhaustion? And I could understand to older people, they probably looking at this like, well, we didn't have that choice. So I think that is really up to Gen Z and young millennials to elect the type of officials and put our people in government who share our thinking. One of the reasons that the older generations, Gen X and baby boomers, are able to have such a pull on the culture is that they elect people who are going to put things in place that benefits them. It's really that simple. It's really about putting your money where your mouth is as a collective, not as an individual. But I think things are changing. So you have millions of young people on the internet complaining. Cool. That's when you use that to get the message out. Okay, now what's step two? Step two is if you don't like it, do something about it. Elect some people that's going to represent you, right? Right? The British fought a war, the Americans fought a war against the British for what? No taxation without representation, right? The Revolutionary War. They stated that they wanted to have a say so in what was going on in the territory. It ended up America became its own country. Now I'm not going that extreme with it, but what I'm saying is it's possible for us to carve a reality that we want to see. It's possible for us to create the world in our image. That's what the baby boomers did. So I'm not about hating on the baby boomers. I respect to a degree the way that they moved because they created a world that benefit them. Now what I dislike about it is it excluded everyone else. It only benefits them for the most part. And we're the ones who are subsidizing and paying for the world that they created. So a little bit of story time for a second when we talk about work-life balance. I think that in order to have the balance, you have to know what you're working for, right? What are you working for? What do you want to accomplish? How much money do you need to be free? And some people, even with that, they go to extremes. Some people, they get into fire, financial independence, retire early. To me, that's a form of extremism because it's like I'm just going to work, and just save all of my money to retire early, which is nothing wrong with that. But then that's another form of an extreme because we're no longer living in the moment. It's like we're unable to live in the moment. Most people either they live chronically in the past, thinking about what happened last year, what happened 3 years ago, what happened with their ex, what happened with their parents, what happened that was traumatizing to them, which forces us to have anxiety about the future. So we have to find a way to exist in a space where we can think clearly and make good decisions, right? I'm not trying to preach to anybody. I'm just giving you some game. This is how I operate. I start when I'm in the funk because I'm human, right? So I think about, okay, this is what's going on. What can I do to make with the choices that I have, which choice will benefit me short term and long term. And sometimes, guys, you just got to make the best decision to get you to a set of new options. So that's why it's hard to make decisions 10 years down the road, because you really don't know what 10 years is going to be like. So that's a long time. But guess what you can plan out? You could plan today. You could plan what you're going to do for next month. And you can take it day by day. You could take it hour by hour. And by taking things slow, you build in baby steps into something that's healthy. And it's very difficult because we live in such a fast-paced world. So that's two extremes. One extreme is work, work, work. Another extreme is almost anti-work, right? And so we need to find a balance. And that's what we want to talk about.
We need to normalize allowing people to come into work, do their job, and go home. Like, it's okay if they don't want to be a boss or be a manager or someone really important. Like, not everyone wants to add that extra stress or move up the corporate ladder because there's other things in life that are more important. Like, maybe they want to spend more time with their family, their kids, or travel, start a business, or have other goals they want to invest their energy, and that is totally okay. I know I have so many other things I want to do in life, and like, I don't want to focus on moving up the corporate ladder. I have other goals and other aspirations that I'm trying to reach. But I will say, when I'm at work, I still want to do a good job. I'm not trying to get fired. I actually started recording my meetings with the Playbacks app because it lets me just sort of detach. I don't have to put in the mental energy. I don't have to stay late or take notes. That has helped me be able to focus on things outside of work. Like this, and it starts recording. Here's the summary it generates and the transcript that shows word for word who said what.
I think that the reason why I named that house Supremacy Ends, because I think that the way that we exist in the Western world is unstable. That's really my premise. And I would phrase it in the form of a question. Is the way that we live in the Western world unstable? Now, why would I say it's unstable? Well, because we live in a culture that's about production, and it's about, really, everything revolves around the dollar. So if the dollar is fluctuating, that is going to present anxiety to us, right? If the housing market fluctuates, that's anxiety. So the problem with this system really is, no matter how much you think you're doing, it's never enough. Consequently, many people are thinking about ways to escape the system. Now that leads to a deeper conversation of, can you escape the system? Some people have argued, no, you cannot escape the system because the system is global. Some people say, well, you probably can escape, but you can have more comfort, right? Now, as a person who likes to travel internationally, I love traveling overseas. I spent a lot of time overseas. Um, I like certain things about the States, but I do question the cost of living in the States. I'm like, man, after you have visited a lot of places, see, it really changes your perspective on things. Because most people, the reason that things are the way they are is because we live in a very limited environment. Most people have a lot of limitations placed on them, right? It's people who want to travel to New York, live in the United States, have never been to New York. It seems as though, hey man, you could it's so many ways to get to New York. Like, you could take a bus, you could fly, you could go to DC, take a train. I mean, there's just so many ways to get to New York if that's what you really wanted to do, depending on where you're coming from. The same with Los Angeles. It's many people want to go to Los Angeles. Never been to Los Angeles. Been living in the country 40 years. Never been to LA or Denver or Chicago. I'm just naming places. Miami, right? New Orleans, Houston. It's people like, one day I'm going to do this. But they never do it. Why? Because they're stuck in their mind, or they're stuck in their immediate reality. They're stuck in a pattern loop. And I believe and I'm going to stay on topic with this because this leads to the work-life balance. So stay with me. This is why many people stay stuck in the job that they hate, because we are creatures of habit. That's why it's so hard to break certain habits, because if something becomes a habit, you're trained to do that, and it feels uncomfortable breaking that habit. So getting back to the extremes, either work, or be be anti-capitalism to a degree and don't want to work as much. I think that we should find a happy medium in the middle. But when you're dealing with people that think in terms of left versus right, or this or that, the person that's in the middle looks like the extremist. Why is that? Well, because we shape the culture where it's all or nothing, todo or nada, right? All or nothing. We live in a world where it's todo or nada. It's like it's either all or nothing, right? And we shouldn't have to live in a world like that, because it should be space to live in the middle. But who is the person that we have to train to live in the middle? It's not the world, you guys, it's ourselves. We have to be okay with ourselves. It doesn't matter what your mom thinks. It doesn't matter what your sister thinks. It doesn't matter what your brother says. It doesn't matter what your dad thinks. It doesn't even matter to a degree what you think, because everyone in the picture is confused. So you have to get to a point where you're okay with finding some balance. Now, how do you find balance in a situation that's unstable? That's the question I'm going to answer. How do we find balance, work-life balance, if the CEO is telling me I need to work 80 hours a week or 70 hours a week, and I'm chasing this promotion, and they're dangling this carrot in front of my face, and this work has me living comfortably, and if I give this up, I won't be able to live as comfortable as I did before. So the problem with working too hard or overworking yourself is going to come with some benefits. You're going to probably have more money. You're probably going to have access to do things that you couldn't do before. And also, what I found out by making more money than I ever made before, I didn't realize a few things. One thing I didn't realize was all of the things that I was able to do once I had money. But then if you're tied to a job, even though you have the money, you have like golden handcuffs, because now you have the money to travel. You have the money to explore other options, but you don't have the free time. You don't have the free time. So now what do? Now you start thinking about, well, one day I'm going to quit this job and I'm going to do the things that I want to do. But then the fear comes in, and the fear says, we're not going, your nervous system. That's another thing we need to talk about. Your nervous system. Your nervous system is programmed to what you do. The feeling on the inside, how you feel on the inside, that's connected to how we operate. So your nervous system, like let's say you're used to being in high pressured, high work environments, working a lot of hours, your nervous system adapts to that. It's like fight or flight. You're in fight mode. Your nervous system adapts to that. And it's very difficult to get out of that. That's why a lot of people who were in the military, they come back and they have PTSD. It's their nervous system that has to be restabilized. They have to restabilize their nervous system, because they were in a area where their adrenaline and their nervous system was, I have to be on this level, I have to be alert. And what happens is it's hard for workaholics to stop. You think that guy wants to work 80 hours and miss 10 years of his life, like he said in the clip? No, he doesn't want to do that. But it's the fact that he has trained his nervous system, he can't stop. So we have to find a way to get control ourselves, or we could lose ourselves forever. And that's another thing people don't talk about. But we're going to talk about how to escape this. One of the ways that we can escape this is by learning how to use money. Money is a tool. That's all it is. It's a tool. And the people that run the world know it's a tool. So I'm going to play the next video to step into the next point and topic.
Most of Gen Zs will never own homes, will be in debt for life, and that decision was made decades ago by our own government. Here's how they did it. Our grandparents owned about 23% of national wealth by the age of 30. Our parents own about 7, and we got about 3. While most of Gen Z are going below 0. Turns out, this decline is not natural, but a result of a series of deliberate regulations made decades ago. Here is an example hidden in plain sight. Most of the stock market is owned by people in their 60s. Now you see, they don't pay any taxes on those stocks, unless they sell them. And even when they do, the tax is 2-3 times lower than the one we deduct from our paycheck. No coincidence that both policies were written by the generation that benefits from it the most. Worst part, we don't even question it, because there's a dozen other illustrations of this. It's literally everywhere. We don't usually see it. The bottom line is, if we don't do anything about it, there's no future for Gen Z, or any other generation for that matter. Wealth by the age of 30. Our parents... Most of Gen Zs will never own homes, will be in debt for life, and that decision was made decades ago by our own government. Here's how they did it. Our grandparents owned about 23% of national wealth by the age of 30. Our parents own about 7, and we got about 3. While most of Gen Z are going below 0. Turns out, this decline is not natural, but a result of a series of deliberate regulations made decades ago. Here is an example hidden in plain sight. Most of the stock market is owned by people in their 60s. Now you see, they don't pay any taxes on those stocks, unless they sell them. And even when they do, the tax is 2-3 times lower than the one we deduct from our paycheck. No coincidence that both policies were written by the generation that benefits from it the most. Worst part, we don't even question it, because there's a dozen other illustrations of this. It's literally everywhere. We don't usually see it. The bottom line is, if we don't do anything about it, there's no future for Gen Z, or any other generation for that matter.
Okay, so now we know what we're in. So I'm setting the atmosphere for what we're up against, right? So for people that's just joining, we're talking about how supremacy ends and the fight for work-life balance. So on one end, we have people that believe in being workaholics, and I'm going to play an example of that. And then we have another example of people that are almost anti-work, like they're over it, right? And I think that we should find a nice place in the middle. But when you're dealing with extremists, or people that I perceive to be as extremists, right? Because this is my reality, this is how I see things. I could be wrong, right? And I leave space for that. But on one end, you got people saying work, work, work. On the other end, you got people that's almost anti-work. Well, the people that's in the middle, like the middle child, if you're in the middle, you look like an extremist to both sides. Because on one side, they see you no better than the one that's on the far side, and then vice versa. You're stuck in the middle. And this is one of the problems we have in our culture now with politics, where it's too extreme. Every conversation is all or nothing. And it doesn't work in real life, because we're never going to have everything we want. And more than likely, even if you do nothing, you're still going to end up with something, because even doing nothing is work, right? If a person wanted to say, I'm not going to do nothing, you're still going to find something to occupy your time. Not working is actually work. So we're programmed to work. We're going to find something to occupy our time. Right? So here we are.
You better find somebody that's willing to tolerate the fact that you're never home for the first 10 years. They're going to raise a family by themselves, because...
Now let me pause it. That's extreme, you guys. And what angers me is that it's people who run our society who think like this. They think in terms of just sheer extremism. 10 years? So okay, you meet a person, you want a life with them, you want to get married, or you are married. You got your girlfriend or you got your boyfriend. You love them. You don't care about the job. You're not trying to become the richest woman or the richest man in the world. And this is another problem. Everybody's not trying to become the richest person who ever lived. Some people just want to live. And the only way that they could convince us to work is to convince us that we should become the richest person, the richest man in Babylon, that we should become the richest person in the world, that we should be obsessed with power and control, and that we should never be satisfied. Satisfaction is the the enemy, right? The cure to capitalism. Because if you're satisfied, what can they sell you? If you're satisfied, what can they can't really sell you anything, right? Because it's like, I'm good. So so let's play the video again about what the guy said about what the people who voted did. Now, this is why I say voting is important. I'm not big on politics, but I understand numbers to enough to say, hey, the way the laws are structured is if enough of us vote, we get things in our favor. That should be simple. That you can teach that to a 10-year-old. Hey, if you can get enough people to vote with you, then you can pass laws that benefit you. That's the battle for Gen Z. Gen Z, if you want to know how to right some of these wrongs, even it don't say, oh, screw politics. Say, no, let's use the system. And this is me being in the middle, right? The extreme version would say don't vote at all. Another extreme would say, become strictly power hungry. No, just vote in a way, in mass, that can get things in your favor to protect yourself, right? It's strength in numbers, it's strength in being on code. Of all of Gen Z, if we're all feeling the same pinch, how about we vote and we elect candidates that's going to represent us? And since we're young, we're basically in the position that we can do it, because they're telling us that less babies are being born. So that means if we get the right people in office, unfortunately, we may become the people that we hate. We may become the baby boomers because it's not going to be a bigger generation after us, according to the statistics, right? Um. So here's a solution, you guys. The solution is winning the money game, not because you want control of others, but because you want control of yourself. Here we go.
Imagine a financially secure position for your life. This is the question. Would you rather have a large amount in savings, 100K plus? And I know somebody out there is going to say 100K isn't a lot of money. For normal people, 100K is a lot of money to have in savings, let's say around my age, 22, 25, whatever. Or would you have a job that pays you a lot more? What is your financial security? Is it your income from a job, or is it how much you have in savings? For me personally, it's how much I have in savings. There has never been a month or time period in my life where I felt secure just because of how much I'm making. I make ten, sometimes even $12,000 in a month, and at no point during that month do I say I'm financially secure. It's when I look at my bank accounts and my investments, I say, oh, okay, I'm doing like halfway decent for a 22-year-old. Not even like good. I kind of just sit there like, okay, we still got more work to do. We still got, X amount of dollars before we hit that 100K goal, and then X amount of time before I want to hit that $250,000 goal. That's my version of financial security. I just want to know what's yours. Do you prioritize the savings, and you could even just classify investments, or do you prioritize that income? Because a lot of you have recurring expenses, mortgages, rents, car payments, this and that, to where you prioritize your income, or you prioritize your income being your financial security than how much you have already.
So that's an important distinction that he made. So he's talking about income versus savings. And this is something that you're not going to really hear people talk about on average because most people don't have a lot of savings. So most people are forced to prioritize income. And we live in the debt centered economy. So I'm gonna play what he said back, and then I'm gonna play another video going back to what the CEO was talking about, and just kind of talk about how we can meet in the middle. I think with his strategy is a way that you can be in the middle. You don't have to be work, 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 but you don't have to be anti-work either. Use work as a strategy to build the life that you want, and that's what I'm advocating for. Not just young people, but everybody. Like, you want the ability to say no, right? You don't want to be in a position where you can't say no. You don't want to be in a position where you forced to say yes. If you can't say no, you're a slave. I'm gonna repeat that. If you can't say no, you're a slave. Now, if you can't say no, that don't mean to give up. That just means it's time to boss up. You got to put yourself in a position where you can say no. And the problem is, and I don't want to ramble, but the problem that we're having is everything is designed to enslave you. You can spend years working on something to have it destroyed overnight. You can spend years putting money to the side, and then next thing you know, your health start to fail. And then you end up with a medical bill that's $40,000. Like, this is real life. So that's not to say that, you know, if you spend years putting money in savings, that things are going to be perfect for you. No, unfortunately, we live in a world where bad things happen to good people, and also good things happen to bad people. Ain't that a mind trip? I'm gonna repeat that. Bad things happen to good people, and good things happen for bad people. That's just life. That happens. And it sucks that it's like that. You know what I'm saying? So I believe in finding balance. So let's listen to what he said. So we're talking about, and the people that's just joining, we're talking about how to find balance between work and life. And the key for this is income and your dollars. But it can't be income alone, because if you're just focused on income, then what happens if you stop working?
Imagine a financially secure position for your life. This is the question. Would you rather have a large amount in savings, 100K plus? And I know somebody out there is going to say 100K isn't a lot of money. For normal people, 100K is a lot of money to have in savings, let's say around my age, 22, 25, whatever. Or would you have a job that pays you a lot more? What is your financial security? Is it your income from a job, or is it how much you have in savings? For me personally, it's how much I have in savings. There has never been a month or a time period in my life where I felt secure just because of how much I'm making. I make ten, sometimes even $12,000 in a month, and at no point during that month do I say I'm financially secure. It's when I look at my bank accounts and my investments, I say, oh, okay, I'm doing like halfway decent for a 22-year-old. Not even like good. I kind of just sit there like, okay, we still got more work to do. We still got, X amount of dollars before we hit that 100K goal, and then X amount of time before I want to hit that $250,000 goal. That's my version of financial security. I just want to know what's yours. Do you prioritize the savings, and you could even just classify investments, or do you prioritize that income? Because
I would say that I prioritize. Um, I, I've been both. So right now, I would say I would like to get back on the income side, but for a while, I had really good savings, and it just felt great. And then I used those savings on an investment property, and so then I'm back to income. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it changes depending on what moves you want to make. You know, savings is potential power until you use it and you turn it into something. right? Savings is like potential power. So I would say if you want to get work life balance, get your income up, two, get your savings up. It's like one, two. One, get an income. Two, get savings. Three, the next step would be use that savings or that income to generate more income by making an investment, which means that if you can create something to where it's going to generate more money to you, then you're winning. But if you just spend something on a little trinket or something, something that doesn't return in value, then it's nothing wrong with that. But just think about all of the time it took you to save X amount of dollars, and then you reach a point where you spent it all and it's not going to come back to you. And then we have this other extreme where you got guys like this is just telling you to just work, right? With no end game. What's the end game? I'm a person like I want to know how does the game end? Not just how to play. Tell me what do we have to do to win? And what you're going to see is most of these people can't really tell you what winning looks like. And I'm not being disrespectful because winning is different for everyone. That's why they can't tell you what winning looks like. Okay?
You better find somebody that's willing to tolerate the fact that you're never home for the first 10 years. They're going to raise a family by themselves because there's no balance in life. That idea of balance is complete bullshit. I mean, it's just bullshit. You have to work so hard to compete globally these days in every sector. You're going to work your ass off. If you're going to be awake 18 hours and you've determined that there's 3 things you have to get done, you're going to get those done. No matter what it takes, you're going to get those done. And you're not going to let anything distract you from the 3 to 5 things. If you're a CEO and you achieve that and you can get those done with 80% of your time based on that, you're extraordinarily successful. You are absolutely, and you're Steve Jobs or you're an Elon Musk. You made one of your things today, this interview. You're going to get it done. You're going to, all these people around and everything else, this is one of the 3 to 5 things you're going to get done. I have 5.
And so this is the point that I'm making in closing my argument is that guys, if you want greener pastures, if you want a place, a reality that's for you, it's up to you to decide that. Like we live in the internet age where so many people are giving you advice, so many people are talking to you and telling you what you should like, what you but I would say winning the work-life balance struggle is by finding out what makes you satisfied. How much food do you really need to have and how can you store your food? That's a part of having security, food security. Like, okay, I'm not going to starve. How much money do you need to pay all of your bills for 1 year, for 3 months, for 6 months? Man, one of the biggest lessons I learned this year, I moved to a new city, and man, I before I moved to the city, I was like, oh man, moving to this city, it's going to make me better. I'm going to be happier by living here. And I didn't get that. It wasn't a bad experience. It was pleasure. Like I enjoyed it. It was pleasurable, but it wasn't that transformative to a degree. You know what I'm saying? And I realized I'm like, man, what really got me was I ended up getting an apartment, and I had a nice apartment. Well, I still have the apartment. But I have a nice apartment. I'm like, the city's cool and all of that. But I'm like, man, I really like the lifestyle that I had prior to getting the apartment. Ironic as that sounds, like, and that's the thing. We don't know how good a situation we're in until we change it. And like when I was speaking earlier about our nervous systems get used to certain behaviors. So sometimes when we introduce new things in that environment, it's not that it's bad. It's just like I kind of miss what I had before now that I think about it. Um, one of the things I was used to doing was being able to take a flight and go overseas whenever I wanted to, pretty much. Like if I wanted to go to Colombia, I just book a flight and go to Colombia. If I wanted to go to, you get the gist of what I'm saying. I would travel a lot. That was my thing. But when I got my apartment, now a certain sector of my income was trapped in my apartment, and I ended up in a situation where I'm like, dang, I would really like to go over here, but I just spent a bunch of money to stay here. And then that's when it hit me. I'm like, oh, this is not where I'm supposed to be. It was a moment of clarity. Like, oh, I thought this is what I wanted, but this isn't actually what I wanted. I could have been taking the same money, dumping into my savings. I could have took this same money, made an investment. I've been taking all of this money, putting it on this because I thought that that's what I wanted. And that's the thing about life, guys. It's trial and error. You have to learn how to move and operate. You have to learn that you're going to make decisions, and in the decisions that you make, it was the best decision you could have made at that time. And you don't want to be in a situation where you're idle or you're not thinking about what decision to make, because then you're stuck. So sometimes it's best to just go with your move and learn the lesson later. Right? Now, moving forward, I don't think that I would do that again. Like, okay, I learned that lesson, I wouldn't do that again. Like I would make sure, if I really want to live in a place, that I really want to stay there. Like if you sign your name on a lease for a year or 6 months, make sure that that's what you want to do. Some people are like, oh, I don't want to sign a 6 month lease. Maybe a 6 month lease make more sense. You know what I'm saying? And so these are things that really you just got to sit back and think about. Now, going back to the money thing, I would say save your money. Put your dollars up. That's a shield. That's to protect you from hard times. That's to protect you from people that may want to use you. I mean, you don't want to ever get in a situation where you need money and you don't have it. That's a bad place to be. Especially if you're making money. If you're making money, the money that you're making is to protect you. But then here's the system. And this is my closing statement. Why is the system designed to keep you in debt? Why is the system designed to keep people living off scarcity? Because that's how they could keep you working. That's how they can keep you working for them. That's how they can trap you. Right? If everybody was satisfied, if everybody's needs was met, there would be no need for you to just work, right? And I think that that's something that a lot of people in Gen Z are thinking about now. A lot of people in Gen Z are thinking like, dang, what makes me happy? How can I be satisfied? And so many people spend their lives not satisfied. So many people spend their lives unhappy, chasing something. You know what I mean? And for me, one of the things that I realized, I was like, man, it is tough for us as part of Gen Z. It is tough for us, especially older Gen Z, because money alone doesn't make you happy. And I could speak on this because I made money. You know what I mean? Like I've made money out here, and I can tell you, as a person that's been a workaholic, working 70-hour weeks, 60-hour weeks, 80-hour weeks, money alone doesn't make you happy. Another thing I've learned, moving to the name brand city won't make you happy. We do things, whether we want to admit it or not, we do a lot of things wanting to impress other people. None of that is going to make you happy. You have to get comfortable in your own skin, you guys. Dating a bunch of different ladies. Guys, I know a lot of you guys think like, if I date a bunch of hot girls, that's not going to make you happy. It may feel good in the moment. It's not. Ladies, same thing. Dating a bunch of hot boys, it's not going to make you happy. I hope that we can all find things to keep us satisfied, man, because life is too long to be lived in a miserable fashion, you know? So that's the gist. Thank you guys for listening. We covered a lot of dynamic topics today. I'm gonna play some of the videos once again, and then we're going to end the discussion today. I think it was productive, and I thank everybody for rocking with me. And thank you for everybody that's been subscribing to the Cross the Culture Wars channel. This is a culture war. People that want to work, that want to be workaholics, that's a part of the culture. People that want to chill, that's a part of the culture. People that just want to be left alone and be in the middle, that's a part of the culture. And that's what I'm talking about. This is across the culture wars. There's many culture wars going on right now. Culture wars, right? So yeah. So thank you guys. I'm gonna play the videos in succession to one another, and then we're gonna end this stream. Peace.
Most of Gen Zs will never own homes, will be in debt for life, and that decision was made decades ago by our government. Here's how they did it. Our grandparents owned about 23% of national wealth by the age of 30. Our parents own about 7, and we got about 3. While most of Gen Z are going below 0. Turns out, this decline is not natural, but a result of a series deliberate regulations made decades ago. Here is an example hidden in plain sight. Most of the stock market is owned by people in their 60s. Now you see, they don't pay any taxes on those stocks, unless they sell them. And even when they do, the tax is 2-3 times lower than the one we deduct from our paycheck. No coincidence that both policies were written by the generation that benefits from it the most. First part, we don't even question it, because there's a dozen other illustrations of this. It's literally everywhere. We don't usually see it. The bottom line is, if we don't do anything about it, there's no future for Gen Z, or any other generation for that matter.
We need to normalize allowing people to come into work, do their job, and go home. Like, it's okay if they don't want to be a boss or be a manager or someone really important. Like, not everyone wants to add that extra stress or move up the corporate ladder, because there's other things in life that are more important. Like, maybe they want to spend more time with their family, their kids, or travel, start a business, or have other goals they want to invest their energy, and that is totally okay. I know I have so many other things I want to do in life, and like, I don't want to focus on moving up the corporate ladder. I have other goals and other aspirations that I'm trying to reach. But I will say, when I'm at work, I mean, I still want to do a good job. I'm not trying to get fired. I actually started recording my meetings with the Playbacks app because it lets me just sort of detach. I don't have to put in the mental energy. I don't have to stay late.
Work-life balance, when did everyone get so soft? I would argue that the older generations had an unhealthy work-life balance. You decided to front load 50 years of work to then maybe have 10 years of life. Millennials and Gen Zers were like, no, we would like to enjoy our life along the way and not give up arguably our best 45 or 50 years. We want to have these enriching experiences along the way, and doing a 4-day work week is the quickest way to do that. We can get things done in 32 hours instead of 40, and this is where the world is going. We want the extra day to sit in a hammock and have a fucking nice coffee, spend time with our family, or this is actually more practical of what's really going on. Millennials and Gen Zers are working 2-3 jobs. So though you call us soft, though you call us lazy, we are working harder than the previous generations in longer hours for way less. And anytime this 4-day work week is brought up to boomers who aren't retired, they ask, well, what would I do on that extra day? Or what would I do if I retire? That is a bizarre thing to millennials and Gen. What would you do? You could start a garden, start a podcast, spoil your grandkids, travel. You could do anything that you want, but you all have just dedicated your life to corporations, and that's great if that's what you want to do. But you're not going to push this on us and say that we're soft and lazy because we see a better way.